Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude at Beyond Mystic, and welcome to this episode of Galactic Download with IndigoAngel. And of course, our friend today is in the beautiful city of Heliopolis in Egypt. Let's give her a big warm welcome. Indigo, how are you today?
I'm good, Jean-Claude. It's such a pleasure to see you again, as always. Reporting live from Heliopolis in Egypt, which is a city within Cairo. It's in the actual government area of Cairo. And it's pretty incredible here. There's a lot of political things here in this city specifically. They have their military bases here. They have the Egyptian White House here in Heliopolis, which holds their president, which is Al-Sisi. So Egypt actually went through, I guess, like quite a progressive revolution, like over the last 4 years once they elected this new president. So they're kind of going more towards, they're getting more westernized, they're getting more modernized, they're getting more progressive with things here. They're not under such a dictatorship anymore, is what the local Egyptians are telling me. And so this city is actually really incredible. It's considered the city of the sun, Heliopolis. And so it's fundamental to the solar cult. So there's a lot of worship here to Ra-Atum, which was the original deification to Ra and also to Horus. So they actually still have a lot of the original monuments, the original buildings. I mean, this city is so incredible. I can't even tell you. I mean, the original structures. They actually have the original palaces to the guy who originally founded Heliopolis, which is a guy named Barone. Can't remember his full name, but I might go check that palace out tomorrow or something. A lot of people are telling me to go check it out.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So thank you so much for taking the time for talking to our viewers live here from Egypt. Of course, I've been a big fan and I've always wanted to go visit. I almost went 2 years ago with Carrie Cassidy, but we had another tour at the same time and it didn't work out. So I'm really envious of you to be there right now and to be there in person and to be able to feel that energy everywhere. So as we get into this episode, I'm going to ask you questions about that, about the energy, what you're feeling in terms of these symbols that you're finding everywhere as you're visiting the museum and these sacred sites, of course. There's a couple of things I know you wanted to talk about today. So folks on YouTube, this is going to be about an hour show. This full show is going to be published on YouTube. And the reason I say that, folks, is, of course, you might have seen yesterday I put out a public address saying that a lot of my videos had been reclassified as unsuitable for advertisers on YouTube. And what my friends were explaining to me is that this is one of the first process in YouTube eventually being able to either completely demonetize or deplatform you. So I've asked people who wanted to support me to join me on Patreon, and quite a few of you did, and I thank you so much for that. And I really appreciate each and every one of you. So moving forward, as discussed in this video, starting in September, I'm going to start to try to segment some of my more explosive videos so that I don't trigger some of these censorship algos on YouTube, and I'll be putting that information on the special access pass on Patreon. So this episode is not one of those. It's going to be completely free here on YouTube. But I just wanted to mention that so that everybody is aware that starting September 1st here, there is a format change on the channel. And the reason I'm doing that is because, of course, I want to stay here in the fight for as long as I possibly can. And I need to make some small changes to be able to do so and to maneuver within some of these draconian rules that we're under. So yeah, so folks, tomorrow is a big day. I've got Craig Hemke and Jim Woodley on an episode. We're going to be talking about all this criminality at the COMEX and all the changes that are happening. That is going to be a segmented show. Same thing for the one with Sean at SGT Report on the Silver Roundtable. Probably the one with Jenny Moonstone as well. As you know, she's quite vocal and her videos have been demonetized before. So just to give you an idea of what's coming up this week, we've got quite a blockbuster for you guys. So please stay tuned for that. And if you don't want to miss any of that information, please do subscribe to my Patreon at patreon.com/BeyondMystic. So thank you for that, guys. I try to go through that as fast as possible to get back to this episode here. So Indigo, today you really wanted to, so the impetus of your trip was to go and visit this Giza Stargate, this fourth Stargate that you talk about. So let's get into that. Please set it up for the people here, why you wanted to go, what the timing is, and what you've been able to ascertain and achieve there while you're there here in Egypt.
Sure, absolutely. I would like to actually give you a quick view, though, of the city of Heliopolis behind me. I'm actually up on the I'm up on the 11th floor, so it's pretty high. It's a really good view. So just let me know here if you guys can see everything. So this is all of the governmental area of Egypt. The White House is over there. Right down below me is actually a military base. And then as I turn this way, there's going to be like 2 towers off in the distance. Can you see those towers?
There's a little bit of a delay in the camera, but I think so. Yes, we're starting to see it now.
Okay, there's 2 towers over there, and that's where the pyramids are. They're in that direction. And also the Nile River is right over there. They're about 20 minutes from here. And so it's about a 20-minute ride from where I am to get to the pyramids and to the Nile.
Very good. And you were already there at the pyramids and the Sphinx the other day. I saw some of the pictures you posted on your Facebook. How was that experience like?
It was incredible. So yeah, Giza, Egypt is the 4th Stargate. Planetarily, it's the most powerful Stargate in the entire world, and it's because how close it is to the sun, and then where the Stargate's actually located on the 30-degree north horizontal ley line, which is actually like a centripetal point that actually energetically, I guess, accelerates and sends and receives encoding to about 5 other major Stargates that kind of sit on that 30-degree north ley line. So fundamentally, it's one of the most important stargates. It actually upholds the planetary 4D astral field. It is the closest vortex system to the grand central sun and to the galactic center. And so it's a very powerful vortex that actually clairvoyantly, as I was going into the Giza pyramid complex, I was seeing through my third eye, and you're going to hear dogs barking behind me. Sorry about that.
No problem.
I was actually seeing through my third eye, or my mind's eye, like the actual vortex site coming up from the ground, and it was like an inverted triangle that actually is a 360-degree radius that is in between the second pyramid and the Sphinx, right in the center of the complex. And so it kind of comes up through the ground right there. So everything surrounding it is receiving that vortexual energy. And what I've come to find out too by staying here in Heliopolis is they actually have like sacred geometric encoding all over the infrastructure of the city. And I was trying to figure out what was this code, so I threw it up in my Diamond Sense Human Girl Lines and asked everybody what it was, and then started researching myself. And it's actually an octagonal sacred geometric shape. So everything here from this Stargate site it's octagonal. So everything's by 8. And it's really big here. I mean, they even have a city on the outside of of Cairo called the 6th of October. So I think there's like a subconscious or an unconscious manifestation of this octagonal energy that basically radiates out from the major 4th Stargate location at the pyramid complex, which infiltrates their political aspects, infiltrates their grid structures, infiltrates basically every aspect and component of their creational aspects in the way that they manifest here. And so yeah, it's been pretty profound. It's kind of been taking me deeper within myself. It's kind of been allowing me to access more of the ultra light spectrum because you're so close to the sun. And the portal is so great. It's so big. It's so vast. It's so energetically, systemically fueling everything else around it. That if you have the capacity as an indigo type 1, indigo type 2, or indigo type 3, you're going to quickly accelerate up to those 24, 36, 40, 72 strand DNA activations because you're bringing through the helium ultralight spectrum.
Very good. There's a little bit of the delay here when you and I change back and forth. So folks, please bear with us. There is that delay here in the communication. But I think so far we can hear you very well, Indigo. So we're going to continue with the show. Please explain. I've put up here on the screen the video you put out yesterday, and you have that symbol that is repeated everywhere here in Heliopolis. So please talk about the history of the symbol and what's its importance.
Sure, absolutely. So I did go over that in my video earlier, so you can check that out on my YouTube channel if you would like. So it's basically that the symbol is represented by a double square, double cubed, double 8-rayed star. And it's carved and stamped basically all over the infrastructure of the city of Heliopolis. And why that's so important is because Heliopolis is the city of the sun. It's actually the most major ancient city of ancient Egypt here in Egypt. And so it holds all of the overlays. It holds all of the records to ancient Egypt. And so it's important, given the meaning of the city, that these solar codes activations here are just running this octagonal geometric wave that accelerates the solar vision quest here. And like I said, brings through the ultra diamond, the white platinum, the ultra gold color frequency spectrum, all of this reverberation from the sun, and draws up those higher DNA activation spectrum. So if you were coming to visit here, you would basically, be flooded through your chakras, through the atoms of your body, through your visibility of your helium spectrum, because I think it takes it, once you go into these like higher atomic codes, you're going into ultra spectrum, you're going far off of the 12th dimensional color frequency spectrum, and you're going into subatomic and atomic realms of consciousness, and how you relate to that, internally, all of these things. But for those of us who work with sacred geometry in terms of our energy work, I'm definitely going to try inducting this symbol. I'm going to try using it for pineal synthesis, where you bring it into the body, bring it down the vertical ascension column, run it through your entire morphological field so you can receive more of the codes, because each of those geometric codes are actually scalar wave encoded, which means they hold like a living light energy within the actual geometry. So yeah, I think that if you wanted to quickly, even if you don't live near this Stargate site, you could work with the sacred geometry that's imprinted here to accelerate yourself and the access to clairvoyantly be able to, access the Stargate site. I was actually taking note of something earlier. So I believe the people here are fire people. I mean, because it's so solar. Everything here is solar. There's not a lot of lunars here. So I was noticing that, lunars reside near Stargate locations that aren't really close to the sun, or in locations where they don't have access to Stargate sites at all, actually. So you might be more called to be on like a solar path, living closer to a Stargate site that is closer to the sun, just because you have, better access to it. And then it also represents the timing in your life, the evolution of your consciousness, what you're going through, because I think people kind of go through like these longer waves of consciousness, of ascension, according to their biological timing, that they ride these longer waves. And so you might be going through a lunar phase that would last 11 years and suddenly shift into a solar phase, rise up into a higher indigo state, download more diamond or crystalline codes, and then actually start traveling or be more of a grid keeper or a gatekeeper, because you're actually defying gravity. Like, you're not fighting gravity anymore, because you're actually riding these higher codes that actually extend up off the grids. And so I think that's kind of what's happened for me, and it's kind of why I'm here, is because I'm supposed to be kind of getting a firsthand account of how the grids actually work by being able to be next to them, being able to see them. And they're very powerful. They're very powerful.
So let's get into that here too, because my question to you is, why now? How were you guided? Why are you guided to go visit this particular Stargate at this time? What's happening in our realm for you to be triggered here? But before we get to that question, Silent Bliss was asking here, have you ever heard or tried the pyramid meditation? And what are your thoughts on the validity and authenticity of that practice? Do you know what he's talking about, or she's talking about?
As far as a pyramid meditation, I have gone to the pyramids. I was able to access one of the temples that was close to the Sphinx that they allow you to go in and do a meditation in, but it's very brief. They're doing a Chaldean prayer here, so it runs 5 times a day, so that's what you're hearing in the background. It's for the Muslim culture. But it's so heavily guarded. I mean, it's really heavily guarded. It's almost like they don't want you to meditate there. Like, they don't want you to do anything other than act like a tourist, take some pictures, and kind of get out and like do it quickly. So I did actually have a meditation or have a moment in the temple that was closest to the Sphinx, and I kind of allowed myself to let go there. I had a very emotional sacral clearing. I seen Cleopatra through my third eye. I had seen that she had been there. I seen that she walked in that temple. I would like to get there to do more meditating. I would like to get there to do actually like a diamond sun activation, like record a meditation there. But I think it will require me having some type of masculine guide with me, honestly, because they're very pushy here. I mean, there's a lot of things you can and cannot do here. Like, you can't stand somewhere for too long. A guard will come say something to you. You can't sit down in the grass somewhere. Like, a guard's going to come say something to you. I mean, they're pretty much, they're everywhere, all over the place.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's very good. So let's get back here to, again, why you were guided to go there at this time. What's happening? What alignment or what specific energy is activating and triggering you to go there? And 2, what type of work were you specifically going to do on this particular portal or Stargate at this time?
Well, I do feel like on some level it's definitely personal. I have a lot of, healing and things that I'm working on within my own, just my own energetic body, that I feel that it's working me through a lot of personal things in my life. But also at the same time, I've come to just really dive into the grids, dive into the Stargates, come to understand them more. This is actually the first major Stargate site that I've actually ever come to like spend and take time in. So I kind of feel it's like the beginning of my quest, that I may just end up like going to all of them at some point and diving into each gate site. It gets really loud.
That's okay. Keep going. I know we're live. We're doing the best we can.
But really, I'm writing a grid workers book. So I have been studying grids for quite some time. I've been studying the ley lines, the axial tonal lines, the Stargate sites, how they all interlink, why they're important, what generates to what time of year, what astrological alignments do, which specific grids, become more activated, things like that. So, I mean, it's all for my studies. It's all for me to further progress with, what I perceive here. And specifically in terms of like any astrological a thing in particular, I know we're coming up on the harvest. We're coming up in September. There's like a great harvest. There's also a lot of ancestor worship that happens in September. And, Egypt is a part of my past lives. I've been here in past lives. So it's just, I'm very connected to Goddess Isis. I carry that encryption, the golden Goddess Isis encryption. And so it just makes sense that I would be here someday to kind of reintegrate this aspect of my soul.
I wanted to ask you about that. In this book here, the Magdalene manuscript, it says the alchemies of Horus and the sex magic of Isis. Now, as you've traveled so far, and I know you just got there and there's so much to visit, have you seen any symbolism that has to do with Isis and Horus and these alchemies? Or are you just still very much starting your trip here?
Well, I did go to the Egyptian Museum here in Cairo, and there wasn't a lot on like goddess worship or Kundalini stuff. It was a lot of tombs and like deity statues. There was a lot of Tutankhamun, mummies. There was a lot of Ramses. There was a lot of artifacts just from ancient Egypt, just like everyday life, like there was like manuscripts on like how to be a wife in ancient Egypt. There was like pots and pans and literature, you know, all of these things. There was a room for Osiris there. So I did go in the Osiris room. It probably was the most energetically charged room in the entire museum. Hang on. This is the last one. It's so loud.
What are we hearing? Is that a jet or a helicopter? Helicopter, okay.
It's a helicopter.
Okay. Okay, keep going. So we're getting into the ISIS information, and so basically what you're saying is so far a lot of that seems to be hidden or occulted. There's a little bit of references at the museum, but not so much.
Not in the one in Cairo. I'm being told that in terms of like anything goddess related, Kundalini related, I need to go to Aswan and I need to go to the Luxor, where I think more of these things are kept. And so that will probably be the next place for me, and also getting to the Great White Desert. So I'm going to probably try to film an invocation at the Great White Desert at some point. And but it would require me going, you know, more south into Egypt. As of now, I've gone north. So I've gone to like the north coast, which is the Mediterranean Sea. I've gone. I might be going to Alexandria. I'll have to see about that. But here in Egypt, the people go to the north coast to like get away from the desert area. It's really beautiful. The Mediterranean Sea, the Nile actually empties into the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like the womb waters of the earth because it's encompassed in land. There's no sharks. I mean, it's the most beautiful oceans, I mean, ever. Like it's just so gorgeous at the Mediterranean. So everyone goes there like during the season. I think it's like June through October, and then October on the off season, everyone goes to the Dead Sea.
Okay.
And then they go to the Dead Sea for their swimming and vacationing. But yeah, and so that's kind of where I've been thus far, and then also kind of gathering information in terms of the grids here, because the Aquila grid. See, Egypt is propagating the Aquila network. So if you've heard of according to Asha Anadine's works, the Atlantean pylon implant networks, which is the overlay grids that were installed at the time of Atlantis.
Right.
Well, there are specific grids. One of them is the Aquila grid. One is the Great White Lion grid. The Aquila grid is actually the largest grid system in the world, especially according if you go by country's national animal. So Egypt's national animal is the eagle. So is the United States. So is Russia. So all of the major countries hold this symbolism. So they're all interconnected through this grid system, this grid structure, and it's all being accelerated by the fourth planetary stargate here in Egypt. And so the Aquila grid is a very powerful grid. It was responsible for 9/11. It's responsible for a lot of things that have happened globally. And so that's fundamentally what I'm actually studying here in Heliopolis, is this Aquila network and how this actually has propagated a lot of historical things, and then also continues to just be the main patriarchal standing grid. And this is also why patriarchy is so fundamentally like the basis of all belief systems throughout the world, is because the fourth stargate itself is like the capital of patriarchy. Like this is where it like fundamentally bleeds through the landmass, so to speak. And it's all ran and held down in that Aquila network. And so those are some of the things that I'm kind of studying here. But yeah.
Share with the audience here some of the feelings and energies that you were feeling at the Sphinx and at the temple there. You mentioned that you were able to do a little bit of a meditation, and you kind of saw Cleopatra there. Were you also able to maybe connect to some of your past lives there and see some visions and maybe some messaging, or are you still kind of downloading all of that? I'm sure it's very overwhelming to be there and physically be there in that energy, but explain that to folks a little bit so they can live vicariously through you here.
Definitely connecting to my past lives. Definitely connecting to the goddess energy that is there. For me, it was like more of a cleansing or like a personal healing that came through. It just came through my chakras. It was like clearing a lot of wounds in my sacral chakra. I cried. I literally cried for like 10, 15 minutes. I couldn't stop crying, actually. And then one of the like little guard guys came over to me and told me that I needed to stop crying.
Can't have that. Nope.
I was like, I can't stop. It was opening up a lot of clairvoyancy in my third eye. So I just kept seeing the Stargate itself. I kept seeing what it looked like. I kept seeing the light energy, the light spectrum. I kept seeing that there was no actual way that it could actually ever be hijacked. Like, there is no way, because this is another thing that kind of runs through the cosmic mill, is that everything's hijacked by Draco and this and that. It's like, fundamentally what I was seeing is that they actually can't, like, they can hijack the reality fields that extenuate from the 3D beyond the point of the Stargate system, but the Stargate itself can't ever be hijacked. It's too pure. It's golden, white, platinum, you know, the highest ultra spectrum of light that just comes out of the ground. Like, I mean, they would have to be there with some like contraptions or machines or something. Like, I mean, everybody's feeding off of it, but there is no way that the gate could actually, on a higher level, couldn't be hijacked. It can be hijacked within the 3D, within the beings that come and try to stake claim on the landmass surrounding it and the people surrounding it and the energy surrounding it and all of these things. But the gate itself is very pure. It's very pure energy. So that's what I was ultimately seeing, and that kind of gave me a lot of comfort and a lot of reassurance and a lot of hope for humanity overall. That it's a purification system of our energetic body of the planet, and so we're constantly going through these radial transformations, and we're always transcending our human limitations and capacities, even as a collective, even as a nation. And it's all being fundamentally received from the purity of these stargates. And so just whenever you feel like you give up hope on humanity and the direction and the way that things are going, like, this energy just naturally and organically will reattune itself through these Stargate systems and these Stargate networks. And it's really incredible. Yeah.
No, keep going. I didn't want to interrupt you.
This Stargate itself, it accesses the collective human feed line to the 4th dimensional astral, and then connects it all the way into the 12th dimensional Rishik diamond levels. And so it's a spectrum that this Stargate hosts, but ultimately, in terms of all of the smaller Merkaba fields and all of the individual beings, it would propagate one if you came here to start really accessing the 12 to 72 DNA strands of your capacities, of your ascension capacities. And it's through helium. It's through the biochemistry. It's literally through the emissions and the absorption spectrum of helium, through the electrons, because as they heat up, they actually have higher energy orbits. And so this is what happens when you come to the Stargate. You actually have higher particle rotation, higher particle oscillation, higher energy orbits, higher spectrum of the helium spectrum. And so you start to actually integrate and release extra energy as light within your wavelength. And so, yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Wow. Is there anything that the viewers and people who are guided to maybe this information in terms of mission upgrades, DNA cleansing or activation as you're speaking, is there anything they can do to help support you and people like you who are working at the Stargates at this time? Because we know that this fall, September, October, November, we're looking at some big, massive changes on the planet. And for some people, those changes are going to be extremely difficult. So what can we do both for ourselves, but also to support people like you who are at the Stargates right now and trying to hold them open for these, I guess, healing codes and transformational codes to come through? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, personally, I'm going to be putting some new content on Patreon. So this is one way that I do the grid work or do this Stargate keeping, is one of the things that I'm designing is by starting to reverberate the intention into the Stargate itself. which is by sending the geometric codes through your body, through your intention, and sending it into the Stargate. And so if anybody wants to participate in that, I do personal sessions, one-on-one sessions, where we could send and receive and transmit these codes from the Stargate site. And then I could also teach you how to send those codes down into the Stargates themselves. Teach you how to create a Q zone that actually opens up a vortex beneath you and allows you to send that energy into the earth. And so all intention of planetary healing, whether you're just thinking it, like I intend to heal the planet, I intend to keep the Stargates open to help heal humanity, all of these things, just thinking that, period, it's helping the earth. It's helping, you know, everything in the levels of progression and evolution energetically within the planet. So caring to do it, caring to do the work, caring to make it a priority, caring it to make it a part of your everyday exercise in terms of your meditation and things like that. It's unifying the energetic body. It's sending the intent to the earth and ultimately to the center core, the iron crystal core of the earth, which ultimately transmits to the grand central sun. And so, or the galactic brains, the cosmic womb, all of these interconnected higher levels of energy that ultimately are also fundamentally a part of our consciousness here in the Milky Way and a part of our planetary consciousness. And so, yeah, just having the intent to want to do the work. If you can't do that on your own, I'm always available for sessions. I offer advanced avatar master practice sessions where I could teach you how to do these things. Keeping your vertical ascension column clear, make sure you're constantly clearing that from a 15-dimensional perspective, which would keep you clear from the grand central sun all the way into the iron crystal core of the earth. Working through all your chakras, clearing your density, healing, making your own healing a priority. You know, all of these things. So you could always donate, of course, accept donations.
Very good. And of course, Indigo has a lot of these visualization techniques and videos on her YouTube channel for free. So you can visit her there. But to get to her Patreon, you can also go to IndigoAngel222.com, which is her website. And then from there, there's a link also to her Patreon where she goes much deeper. And she also gives personal readings on starseed origins. So maybe talk about that a little bit here. And let us know how maybe you're connecting to your starseed origin as you're closer to these pyramids and this Stargate. Has that brought any new information for you or new insights for you at this time?
In terms of my own starseed origin, I consider myself a dematerialized eternal atom. So I radiate to all star systems. I don't hold a lot of personal starseed origin identity, but I used to, in terms of my celestial awakening. I used to hold a lot of identity, but as I've come to transcend a lot of my human limitations, holding on to identity in any way whatsoever doesn't keep me as open to be able to transmit light through my body. And so therefore I've transcended a lot of that personally, but I do the starseed origin readings for those who are seeking to access more of their cosmic identity and access more of this for greater healing, higher purpose in life, higher potential in life. All of these radio light signatures that are encrypted in your blueprint are part of your divine destiny, your great design. And so they are there to assist you, to help you to basically embody more of that aspect of yourself so you can transcend your human limitation, embody more higher light intelligence, and basically take on your full infinite potential. So I do offer the starseed origin readings, and yeah, so you can find that on my website, IndigoAngel222.com. And I also do Akashic record readings as well. So sometimes that can assist people as well with a little bit of past life regression and also just seeing where they've been throughout. I really truly believe, though, that the purpose of that is just to try to help you overcome things in this life that may be blocking you energetically, but ultimately the idea should be about progressing forward into the future, and also being in your now. So yeah, but it's all a part of your healing. Sometimes you have to regress to progress, and your guides let you know when you're ready to do those things, and if those things actually matter, right now in your life. So
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Polly P, for putting up the link to Indigo's PayPal there, so people can go and click on that directly and support you. So thank you for that, Polly P. Appreciate it. Yeah, so that's all fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing this. And I don't want to keep you too long because I know you're excited to investigate and experience every little inch of Egypt while you're there. So on that note, what's next for you? You mentioned you've been, or you might be going to Alexandria next, and then maybe further down south. What's next for you, and what are your hopes, and how long will you be staying there?
I'm going to be staying through the month of September, possibly into October a little bit. I'm not sure. I'm just kind of going to go off of what I'm guided to do. You know, if I feel like get enough information here, then I'll move on to the next thing. I definitely want to try to get into the pyramid complex to do a diamond sun activation. The diamond sun activation is really important for me to do. I have to do this because there's actually a spectrum of sun embodiment that people go through in certain aspects of consciousness phases. They go through a ruby sun, they go through a gold sun, they go through a white sun, a diamond sun, a double diamond sun, and then also an emerald sun and a platinum sun. And each one of these sets help you grow in terms of your DNA expansion and align you to higher galactic aspects of your identity, all of these different things that kind of come through these different suns. So I definitely want to get to the pyramids to do an activation there for that. And then, like I said, getting to Luxor, getting to Aswan, and then I also want to do an Asherah invocation. Asherah was the wife of Yahweh. She's considered the goddess of the cosmos. She was that, if you've heard of the Asherah tree, she's the Asherah pole. She was the original objectification of the woman. And so I really want to do like an invocation on her at the Great White Desert. So everything that I'm talking about, Luxor, the Great White Desert, this is all 5 hours like south of here. And I didn't realize everything was so far away. So I got here and I'm like, I'm here. And then I'm like, what? I have to go 5 more hours in another direction. Yeah, so
Very good.
Apparently I have to be here a little longer to try to get to these places.
And how can people follow you? Are you posting as you go? Are you doing this on Instagram, on your Facebook? What's the best place for people to follow you here as you're going to all these sacred sites?
Basically my YouTube channel. So just IndigoAngel, all one word. And yeah, basically my YouTube channel. I do post pictures and videos sometimes up on my Facebook page and then also on my Instagram. I don't do Twitter as much as you do Twitter. I need to get on the Twitter wagon. I also need to get on the TikTok wagon. Apparently everybody's on TikTok and I am falling behind because I'm not on TikTok. But it's just really difficult to navigate so many different platforms when you're trying to kind of like focus on the filming and the creative aspect of things. But yeah, I would ultimately like to do that.
Very good. Very good. So people, you can follow her on her YouTube, and I'll put a link. I think it's already there, but I'll put a link in the description box of this video. You guys can have access directly to the Indigo's YouTube channel. So Indigo, we're losing you in the sunset here. There was a beautiful sunset. Thank you so much for taking your time to join us today live from Heliopolis. That's beautiful. I'm looking forward to our next live show from wherever you're going to be next in Egypt. I think this is going to be fascinating as we move forward. Before we leave tonight, is there anything else that you want to share with folks, either in terms of a note of optimism or a note of healing? Anything you want to share with the folks before we go?
If anyone resonated with that sun activation, like when I said you go to ruby to diamond to gold and all these different light spectrums within the sun, I just want to leave you guys with the gold sun. It's really important to focus on this. For those of you that are trying to escape the matrix, the gold, the gold in your biochemistry actually relieves you of slavery contracts. It's typically bonded within the seraphim encryption. So if you resonate within the seraphi, there's a lot of distortions within that. So just resonating with the gold in the body, it's the most freeing of your template, because the original genetic manipulations, remember, occurred in Sumeria as they were digging for gold. Everything is over gold. The slavery is over gold. So if you can restore that in your biochemistry, then you're much closer to exiting the matrix and riding the grid so that way you can travel, own your own business, you know, get yourself in a position that you are able to basically fundamentally live on a different timeline or a different current that can take you to a lot more places than just being stuck in your limitations in your boxes in your everyday 3D linear reality, or your 9 to 5, you know what I mean? So working with the gold element. That's all I want to leave you with.
Very good. Well, thank you so much. And thank you, folks, for bearing with us here. There's a lot of ambient noise here. She's in Heliopolis. We can hear the dogs, the traffic and everything. So thank you so much for bearing with us on this live show. And please join us next time on YouTube as soon as we can connect or reconnect again with Indigo as she's traveling through Egypt and doing all these wonderful things here. So on that note, everyone, thank you so much for watching this small episode today, and I hope that you'll watch the next couple of days here. We have quite a few blockbuster episodes coming your way, and we're going to have a lot of fun together as we move into September, the October surprise, and of course the election. So things are ramping up here, folks, and we're in it for the long run. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Indigo, for being here. I love you. Have a great day. Au revoir.